Number 23, views on homosexuality. They give a link to another article. I don't know why. There's not much there except a reference to a Pew Research report that says twice as many liberals as conservatives say people are born homosexuals, and that most liberals believe in evolution. What that has to do with the subject isn't clearly delineated, only a reference to genetic determinism. Number 24, homosexuality, marriage, and homosexuality laws. I'm not going to go into gay marriage here. That be its own subject. The homosexuality and animals list. Myth. This is regarding how common homosexuality. This is in regards to how common homosexuality is amongst animals. The argument here is that what is natural for other animals isn't necessarily natural for humans. I always found the religious right's take on this amusing, since they're the ones who keep insisting that homosexuality is unnatural. Number 26. Log cabin Republicans purge Mark Foley from their picture from their website. Who cares? Wasn't he one of you until he fell? He and a few other members of the Republican Hall of Gay. Number 27. Claims of hate crimes. This is one of the most disgusting things that the religious right promotes. The idea that hate crimes in some way aren't real, and what crimes there are the fault of the victim. The first 4 links are apparently supposed to link to FBI reports or statistics on hate crimes. The links no longer work. The 5th is to Michelle Malkin's blog. Michelle being a conservative blogger who is notoriously biased. She reports a case where a high school girl faked a series of gay bashing incidents in which she was the victim. One case amongst the many that are real. The next reference also no longer exists, but the last link is a pure gem. It goes to an ad for a book called Crying Wolf, Hate Crime Hoaxes in America. And the blurb says, a thoroughly documented and extensively footnoted study of false and fabricated racist, anti-gay, and anti-Semitic hate crimes actually perpetrated by the victims themselves to gain sympathy, advance a political agenda, or for monetary gain. Wow. Racist, anti-gay, and anti-Semitic. Apparently all hate crimes aren't real. This is the scary denial of the existence of something such as a hate crime that is promoted, well, mostly by those who engage in hate crimes. Okay, that might be a bit exaggerated, but it's not far off. Because hate crimes aren't limited to crimes of physical violence. They include bullying and denial of rights. Yes, there are going to be false reports for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's because the person is having problems and needs help. Yet to deny that gay bashing and bullying and the vicious verbal hate that so many spout doesn't exist is abominable. Also, I want you to take a look at the book. It sort of screams self-published, doesn't it? Now I'm going to go back here to something that was mentioned earlier in homosexuality in the media, and that is the case of Matthew Shepard. According to Conservapedia, in respect to the issue of homosexuality, the case of Matthew Shepard was likely not a hate crime, according to one of the leading police investigators for the murder. This is from an ABC 2020 site, and the reference is from page 3 of 6, from November 26, 2004. Well, this is actually the wrong page. It should be page 4, but then these Conservapedia folks aren't too careful with their references, as we've seen. And it says, former Laramie police detective Ben Fritzen, one of the lead investigators in the case, also believed robbery was the primary motive. Quote, Matthew Shepard's sexual preference or sexual orientation certainly wasn't the motive in the homicide, unquote, he said. Quote, if it wasn't Shepard, they would have found another easy target. What it comes down to really is drugs and money and 2 punks that were out looking for it, unquote. That's what Fritzen said. And then later in the same article, because this article is about more than just what Fritzen said, so displaying a strong aversion to homosexual sex was a tactic McKinney tried at his trial. His lawyers developed a so-called gay panic defense, claiming homosexual abuse McKinney suffered as a child caused him to overreact to a sexual advance by Shepard and triggered the violent attack. Hoping a Wyoming jury would be sympathetic to a gay panic did not pay off. McKinney was found guilty and wound up with 2 life sentences, assuring he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. The same sentence received by his accomplice Russell Henderson. Now, the problem with this being about drugs or money is the viciousness of the attack. No one treats someone that way if they simply want to rob them. This was a crime of hate. To belittle that in order to try to somehow knock down one by one every hate crime is disgusting. Number 28, homosexuality statistics. Okay, this is a controversial subject, mostly because there's such a wide variation in results. Since to be homosexual in our society has traditionally been considered particularly heinous, it's hard to get accurate results, and so many people won't admit to homosexual feelings, especially when being interviewed by someone. Just exactly what questions are asked and how they are asked also comes into play, and this is a subject better covered by someone who understands sociology and statistics. Number 29, history of homosexuality. Now, from Conservapedia. Dr. Neil Whitehead and Briar Whitehead state regarding various cultures, if homosexuality were significantly influenced by genes, it would appear in every culture, but in 29 out of 79 cultures surveyed by Ford and Beach in 1952, homosexuality was rare or absent. Okay, first you have to look at this reference. It's to a publication by the Whiteheads where they report what Ford and Beach found. Conservapedia isn't referencing the original data, only a paper that itself references the original data. Not a peer-reviewed paper, by the way. This is not a good reference, something we've seen before. As for Ford and Beach, I wasn't able to find the original book online, but I was able to find a reference to them in Out History. A reference that paints a very different picture of the data. Here it says that Ford and Beach collected data on 76 societies and found favorable attitudes towards male homosexuality in 49 or 64% of them. Out History also says, quote, Ford and Beach's book was quickly taken up by the homosexual emancipation movement, which used its cross-cultural research and conclusions to place the anti-homosexuality of contemporary Western society in a socially and historically relative perspective, unquote. Contrast that with the Conservapedia article, where they quoted Whitehead saying that in 29 of 79 cultures, homosexuality was rare absence. There is a difference of 1 here in the numbers, but I'm not considering that. Now, I found a copy of the book online, and I bought it, and I have it. I haven't really looked at it too much. It's going to take me a little while to read it. It's not just about homosexuality. But I would definitely say that the Conservapedia article is, again, the article that they're quoting is again slanted. It's very easily to pick just that looking at the percentages there without looking at what Ford and Beach were actually saying. Because why is homosexuality not being reported in some cultures? What does it mean, to be homosexual in some cultures? Anyway, I will look at it, and I will read it later. But when we're getting into anthropology and sociology, social anthropology, physical anthropology, I'm better with, but and sociology, it takes me a little while because my brain doesn't really want to work that way. It wants hard science. Well, so first, we have the bad reference, which doesn't show Conservapedia in a very professional light. And second, you can see how using the same data, using 2 different groups can come to different conclusions. And I'm not experienced enough in anthropology to be able to find sources more current than Ford and Beach's book, which, remember, was written in 1952. And this was a time when Western attitudes towards homosexuality were extremely negative. But it looks to me as if kudos have to be given to Ford and Beach for doing a proper job of research. So that's basically it by now. Except to mention that Conservapedia is the brainchild of Andrew Schlafly, the son of Phyllis Schlafly. And if you don't know who she is, she's a anti-feminist crusader. She's been one for 50 years. She would go around basically telling women to be exactly what she wasn't. What is really sad about reading this is that Andrew Schlafly has a brother, John, who's gay. And yet this is the kind of thing that he thinks is appropriate. I feel very sorry for his brother. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Bye.